Ladies and gents, welcome back. This has been an interesting year in Canada. The federal government has really exposed itself for what it's worth and what it has in mind for us, and especially us creators. And some that were involved in protests that occurred this year were intimidated, to the point of backing off temporarily. And to discuss this today, I brought in Greg Wycliffe. You did just that. Welcome to the channel, Greg.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I I didn't want to back off after the trucker convoy, but when people around you are leaving the country and getting arrested for really no good reason other than attending a protest, I kind of started to take inventory and say, I don't think I want to have to be dragged to jail for making content. And I got intimidated. After the trucker convoy, after seeing the arrest start. So
I can understand, from my perspective, I'm a guy who's just kind of reporting on the situation. So I've had, threatening emails or whatever, and you kind of have to ignore those. But you were actually directly connected and I guess culpable to being part of the protest at the time, because you were there. You were actually there in a separate role other than what you do as a content creator. So, I mean, how does that feel when the government's really cracking down on individuals? I mean, we all heard about the bank accounts being frozen, people's livelihoods being taken away from them, and not for the temporary time that Trudeau and his government were saying. They're actually taken away for the entirety of the period in which they invocated the Emergencies Act. So where were your ties in all of this, and how did that really weigh in on your decision to just kind of take a step back for a moment? Obviously, we're all glad you're back.
Yeah. So I think it's important to emphasize how none of this has really happened before. All this was really unprecedented. Frozen bank accounts, crushing people with police horses, and then the arrest that came after. It was all sort of like, this has never happened before. Like, these people are acting very authoritarian. And I would try to talk to people and say, am I crazy? Are they going to try to arrest me? And people would say, oh, no, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. And I thought, well, it has happened to people.
Yes.
It has happened to people, where, Morgan May and Jeremy McKenzie got thrown in jail for being at a protest in Nova Scotia. This is after the trucker convoy,
and this is prior to any other charges that were laid on him as well, right?
Yeah, and of course it was a mischief charge, right? But the real reason why, the tipping point where I really got fearful and intimidated was the arrest of Randy Hillier, and then he had his bail conditions. He got a whole bunch of charges. There was the 3 mischief charges, and then like assaulting a police officer or something, which is basically the clip where he moves a fence or something. He moves a metal fence 2 feet, and that's
what it was. I didn't actually get the news on what they considered the assault. For people who are watching this and don't know, Randy Hillier was a MPP, a sitting member of provincial parliament at the time that he was arrested for joining a protest. I mean, it's not illegal to join a protest.
No. And all of the extra trumped up charges were just, none of them made much sense whatsoever. But I did look into his rap sheet of what his charges were. And it was mischief, counseling to commit mischief. And then there was a third one having to do with mischief. And essentially those 3 equate to, if you attended the protest in Ottawa, if you encouraged people to go to the protest in Ottawa. And then the third one is essentially if you hung around in Ottawa to the very end when the police were there pushing everybody back for the last kind of couple days there. And that was me, that I checked all 3 of those boxes. So based on their authoritarian logic, it's okay, they have the means to arrest me. There's video footage of me being there. There's video footage of me encouraging people to come down. They have everything they need to justify their nonsense, authoritarian logic to throw me in jail if they wanted to. And yeah, it wasn't so much that I was like egotistical to think that they're going to come after me, but if it did happen based on what I had seen, I would not be surprised. And the other thing on top of that is with the bail conditions that Randy Hillier got, one of them was do not speak to this list of people. And I was one of the people on that list.
You were
So
named
I'm
on
at least
that
on
list.
some, I was named on the list. Yeah. So
Well,
I didn't really feel, yeah.
and
Yeah.
for people that think that maybe this is like, oh well, it's not a big deal, you just got arrested, and then like, oh, like they arrested you, and you would always assume that if you've been arrested and charges have been laid, that they're going to pursue that. However, they didn't end up pursuing a lot of the arrests, and it just became a numbers game for them. When it came to the protest, they could go on the newspaper and say we had 200 arrests or something like that. But most of the people that were arrested at the protest were just released several miles from the city and in the frigid temperatures of February. But
Yeah, they weren't real arrests, really. Yeah, they were just kind of cuffing people and then driving them down the street.
how are you to
So
know that? You know how like you're not going to know that that's a bluff. You're going to
mhm.
expect that they're going to come at you with the full intent and purpose of the law, right? And
Mhm.
that's where I completely sympathize with your position. In they did that to a number of people, so why would they not come after you, especially if you were named in that situation? So,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I I was just gonna say, and it's I have a suspicion of who they target and why they target them. Like Morgan May and Jeremy McKenzie are two people who are popular. They have platforms. They're charming. They have a lot of reach. They have a lot of influence, and they just happen to be the people who got arrested at this protest in Nova Scotia. And again, it's like I'm not trying to be egotistical about it, but it's like my channel was growing a lot at the time. Like I had a couple of those live streams on the front lines at the convoy that had like 60,000 views. My videos were getting reshared all over the place. And, you know, I feel like that's why I was on the list. That's why there's a target on my back. And uh, obviously, arresting me would have disincentivized me to continue making content even more so than just kind of being intimidated. Right. So I was kind of thinking, I was getting in their authoritarian brain. And it's like, there might, I don't know. The major thing that happened is I stopped going to the protests in Toronto because it's like I'm going to be there in my plaid onesie. I'll be easily identifiable, and it would just be kind of easy for them to like just nab me for some BS reason and say, hey, it was mischief or whatever. I don't know. But again, it's people would say, oh, they can't do that. And it's like, well, they were doing stuff like that.
They were
So
doing exactly
unfortunately,
that. It was
yeah,
the game of take out the leaders, right? The arrest of Chris Barber, Tamara Litch, a number of other people,
exactly.
and that's it. Freeze the accounts of people like Tom Marazzo and others, and then, as you said, put bail conditions, unreasonable, absolutely unreasonable bail conditions that would make it
Yep.
so it squashes your voice after the fact. So, and a lot of these
Yep.
people are still living with these bail conditions. So, like, you dodged a bullet actually on that one, and you can still have a voice where other people were not able to. And we're glad you still have that voice. And well, we can see your voice over on your YouTube channel that'll pop up here in 1 second because I glitched that one out. But yeah, check out Greg Wycliffe on YouTube, chronically and tragically undersubbed. Definitely got to bring that sub count up because your content's just amazing. I gotta say it. Like the quality of videos is fantastic, and the reason why I'm talking to you is because it hit me so hard with the video that you were talking about. It's time we need to talk about this. What went down and why you backed off for a while, but your content is amazing. So what's some of the stuff that you do for the audience that give us the elevator pitch for people that haven't heard of you yet?
Yeah, thanks a lot for the compliments, Clyde. So I do comedy, commentary, and some reporting as well. Along with that, I do music. So I know it's like a lot of different categories, but essentially, I started off in 2019. I ran for the People's Party of Canada, and one way I garnered attention was writing these parody songs about Justin Trudeau. And it's just kind of something that I've kind of done in my spare time. I guess I kind of like writing parody songs. But I've also done kind of skits making fun of Trudeau. Another popular one was if uh, if Canada public health was honest. That's another good one, making fun of Patty Hairdo or Patty Haydo. Yeah, and again, as you know all too well, Clyde, there is definitely a demand for people actually doing reporting in Canada and actually doing news in Canada. So that's something that I'll do occasionally as well, where I'll make a video that kind of goes more in depth on a topic to let people know what's actually happening in this country, because we need more people like us telling the story, doing the research, doing the job of journalists, right? So
I'd agree though, and the best thing that you bring to the table is you let people laugh about things. So like the biggest like therapeutical thing that I found is if you could just laugh at a bad situation, you can find a way to find humor in something that's, I mean, we're all dealing with our creepy authoritarian government, and then find some way of at least letting people know about it without being doom and gloom, and give them a reason to laugh.
Yeah, my goal from the beginning was always just to get people more engaged and interested in the politics in their own country. Because far too often, I feel like I've grown up around people who don't really care about Canadian politics. It's almost like wallpaper. Like they don't really care about the politics in their own country. They'd much rather watch what's happening in the States. And I think there's a lot going on in this country that does affect us, that we should be paying attention to. And obviously, yes, I do use comedy and humor when I can to to get people to pay attention and care, and also laugh and see the truth in what's going on.
Well, thank you so much for bringing that message to the show today. And I want to, where can people find you elsewhere on social media?
Yeah, you can search Greg Wycliffe, one word, on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter as well at GWDDUB. Kind of a weird at there, but I'm also on TikTok. I'm on my second TikTok account. My first one got banned at 50K, but you can follow me at Greg Wycliffe on TikTok as well. I like to try some weird stuff on TikTok. It's kind of fun platform to experiment.
I'll make sure I have all the links in the description down below. Get over there and sub. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me so much, Clyde. I'm excited to see you grow further in this country as well. So
absolutely. Cheers. And thank you guys for tuning in to this conversation. If you go over onto Greg's channel, while we recorded this, and it's going to be, you're watching it in the morning. Yesterday, we did a live stream. Check out on his live channel, or on his channel under the live tab. We're having a conversation. It hasn't happened yet, but it will be happening, and it'll have happened by the time you watch this. So anyway, check that out. Check out the links in the description, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.